Hey, it's Sri here. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through 3 important mindset shifts that you need to take in order to be able to save your marriage alone when it's on the brink of a divorce. Before we dive in, I just want to let you know that I'm opening up a few spots for my Authentic Relationship System training program, which helps women to be able to save their marriage, but also help them to be able to awaken their goddess within and really help them to become the very best versions of themselves. So make sure you stick around to the very end and I'll give you all the details about how you can go about applying for the program. Now make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that every Sundays and Tuesdays you'll receive access to all of my latest videos teaching you specifically about how to improve the quality of your marriage or relationship, how to get to know your husband better than he knows himself, and how to become the very best version of yourself. Now, for those of you who have met me before, my name's Sri Rajasekar, and I help women from all over the world to be able to improve the quality of their relationship or marriage, but at the same time to be able to reclaim their self-worth and their self-confidence and learn specifically about male psychology, because I believe that these fundamentals are what allows marriages and relationships to really go to that next level. Now, if you're in a situation where your husband is wanting a divorce, or he stated he just wants a little bit of time apart or needs some space, whatever, no matter what it is that you're going through, it can be the most difficult experience in life. It is so painful. And if that's what you're going through right now, my heart goes out to you. But I really wanted to shoot this video so that I can give you some empowering steps and tips that you can begin to use immediately to be able to create some genuine shifts, not just in the marriage, but for your own self as well. Because we need to take care of ourselves, just like they talk about on the airplane. What do they say? Put your own mask on first before putting on your own children's or anyone else's. You've got to take care of your inner world first. It is so important, because the old school approach to working on things is immediately to either hope that your husband's actually going to change, or B, immediately going to couples counseling and hoping that he's actually going to create some shifts within that counseling environment. But here's the problem. When men often go into a counseling environment, especially when they've made the decision that they want to leave, or if they've been the one that have been the culprits in terms of engaging in any forms of infidelity, they go into these couples counseling sessions and they immediately feel attacked. And what happens when they feel attacked? They want to run from it. They feel like, oh look, this stuff isn't working. It's not working at all. So because they start to pull away from that as well as yourself, that's what creates a whole heap of confusion. And so the reality is there has to be a better way. In order to create those shifts, in order to create the transformation, we need to take an empowering approach. An approach that's going to be subtle yet powerful. So what I'm going to talk you through now are 3 important mindset shifts or realizations that you need to ensure that you apply so that you can actually create the best chance of not only saving your marriage, but also to be able to grow within you. Now, the first realization or mindset shift that you need to ensure you understand is that doing nothing never works. Now, here's the thing. You might be sitting there thinking, well, yeah, obviously. But you would be amazed at the amount of people that I speak to and how so many of them will say to me, look, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to do whatever I can. But then when it comes down to actually doing the work and doing the things that they need to do, they don't do anything. And why? Because they get into a place of freezing. Okay? When we're living in survival mode, when you're in a situation where you're potentially going to lose your marriage, or it's going to impact your children and so forth, what happens is we get into survival mode, and that survival mode gets us to a point where we're either in fight, flight, or freeze mode. Some people will immediately push back and fight fire with fire and do everything that they can in order to either protect their children or protect themselves or protect the marriage. And they fight like crazy and they're willing to do whatever it takes. So those are the first group of people. The second group of people end up in a place of what we call flight. So they run from things. They don't want to deal with it. It's too painful. They're not sure what to do. And so they go and put their time and their energy into other things because having to deal with the problem is just too difficult and too painful. So that's the second group of people. And then you've got your third group of people who freeze. They don't know what to do. They're not sure what actions to take. Now, regardless of what position you're in, there's no judgment at all from my part. This is all about just recognition of patterns. And if you see yourself in any of these particular categories, then you can actually begin to take the necessary action in order to move forward. But the first step in any transformation is awareness. So we need to understand where we're at. And often for me, I would often step into that place of the third pattern, which is freezing. That third pattern of freezing is a really, really common one. Why? Because often we're not sure what to do, we don't know what actions to take, and it's too scary to experience change. We would rather deal with the pain of the current circumstances than deal with the potential pain that comes with changing, because as human beings, we love certainty. We want to know how things are going to unfold. And even if there is a lot of pain there, we would rather know the pain than potentially embark on a pathway which is actually going to let us experience pleasure, but we just don't know what that looks like. And so that can create a huge amount of problems for individuals. They stay put, they do nothing, they get no results, and then that cycle just keeps continuing on. And it hurts my heart so much when I see this, because they're so close. They're so close to experiencing transformation. They're so close to experiencing real change, change that can last a lifetime. But what happens is they get caught up in their own dialogue, their own inner dialogue, which creates more fear, creates more insecurity. You judge yourself really harshly for feeling like you're not doing anything, but at the same time, you don't have the energy, you don't have the mental space to be able to put the work in order to create that transformation. And that's what's so difficult for a lot of people. And it's something I really wanted to point out to you. As I said, it's not from a place of judgment. It's about recognition and becoming aware of patterns that are going on inside. And when you understand that, when you understand the patterns, you can then begin to change them. So the first mindset shift I really want you to buy into is that doing nothing never works. And you want to make sure that you take some form of action. Now that could be going and seeing a counselor. That could be going and hiring a coach of some sort. That could be going and reading certain books. It could be going and engaging in meditation so that you can begin to slow your mind down. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what action you take. It's important to take that first step and do something. Because when you take that first step, it's going to give you momentum. And when you gain momentum, you're going to be able to move forward and experience transformation in the long run. And that I can promise you. And the second mindset shift that you want to begin to apply, which kind of follows on from the first, is remembering that you are good enough to experience transformation. You see, so many people that I will speak to want change. They want to be able to shift. They're almost at the point where they're ready to do it. But there's a part of their brain that goes, you're not good enough to get the results. You're not good enough to be able to stay the course. You're not good enough to be able to really experience true transformation. That's only for the lucky people over here. I can't do it. Have you had those thoughts before? Because I know I have. There have been so many times in my life where I've wanted to experience change, experience transformation. I've been that close, and then something happens, my brain goes, oh, see, you can't do it. You're not able to experience the transformation at all. You're not good enough. And that belief of not being good enough is so false. It's so false for every single person, because here's the thing. If we're good enough for God, if we were created by God, and if we were good enough for God, then we're good enough for ourselves as well. And we need to buy into that. And when you operate from the belief that you are enough as you are, and you don't need to become any particular person, or you don't need to prove anything to people, you work off the foundations that you are perfect as you are, and that you are completely worthy. And when you're completely worthy, you're going to take action, because you're going to know, look, I can make the changes. I can make the shifts. And just because we're operating from a place of worthiness doesn't mean that we don't want to improve, doesn't mean we don't want to grow. But we come from that place of genuinely creating proper shifts inside. It's a beautiful thing. And so when you know that you're enough, then what happens is you see your marriage with clarity. You see things that you weren't able to see before. and that you're able to put the work in and actually have the desire to want to work on it and know that you can create shifts and transformation within. But it's when we operate from the belief that we're not enough and that we can't actually create the shifts that we need to in the future, that's where we run into problems. So always know that you are enough. And even if you just repeat that mantra just a few times a day, I am enough, I am perfect in my own imperfection, just a couple of these little mantras every single day, it'll slowly start to get ingrained in your own mind and your brain. And as you start to believe it, you'll feel it, and then you'll act on it as well. Now, the third mindset shift that you really want to make sure you apply is to remember that all change and all transformation comes back to the self whenever we're in a difficult marriage. Now, that might be frustrating to hear, especially if you're having to deal with, regular anger and so forth from your husband, or, any kind of negative behaviors from him. But you've got to remember that the only thing that we can actually control is what goes on inside. And there's also a huge learning in all of it. I think about the relationships that I've had over the years, and I don't even mean intimate relationships, I mean professional relationships. There was always a massive opportunity to grow and learn within me. I remember years ago I had this boss who was very, very aggressive towards me, and I really struggled with it. And I couldn't understand because I was this pretty quiet, placid guy, and she was always on my case and really just quite intimidating and quite scary. And often I would go to work thinking, am I going to lose my job? And then I realized, and I learned a little bit about working on my own self, and I realized that what I'd done for so long was allow people to trample all over me and to not be my own authentic self. So that relationship, that professional relationship, was an opportunity and a reflection back to me that I needed to step up into my own, strength and confidence and really raise my self-esteem and my self-worth. And as I did that, I then had some honest conversations with my boss, and after that we were able to have a fantastic professional relationship. But I couldn't have learned that, I couldn't have recognized that without firstly having that experience, and then secondly going and asking myself, what can I do here to create the shifts within? And the same goes that if you're dealing with a partner or a husband who's getting quite angry, maybe there's an opportunity there to be able to set certain boundaries, or for you to speak your truth as well. Now, obviously, if it's getting too far and too extreme, you need to be conscious of that and be careful about that, and contact the respective authorities, or go and get some help if you need from a professional source in order to help you through those times. But on the assumption that there's no physical abuse or anything like that, if it is just a case of that your husband's been treating you quite poorly, then you need to also look at yourself and ask, how much are you valuing yourself? How much are you valuing yourself to a point where that you're able to set the appropriate boundaries and so on? So no matter what circumstances they're in, I promise you there is always a learning for you within yourself. So you always have to remember that there is a wonderful opportunity to learn, and that all change has to come back to the self. You create the healing inside here, then the shifts will occur in the external world. Now, I appreciate that sometimes working on yourself is a really, really tricky thing, and sometimes we don't even know where on earth do we start. So for that reason, what I'm doing is I'm going to open up a few spots to my Authentic Relationship System training program, which will teach you specifically about how you can improve the quality of your marriage, but also how you can improve the relationship with yourself as well, and really be able to create true healing inside. And that healing comes in the form of improving your self-worth, your self-confidence, feeling like you are enough, learning to speak your truth, but not feeling like if you speak your truth, that's going to somehow impact your marriage as well. So it's a really amazing program. And look, it's not for every single person. I want to make sure that you're a really good fit. And so for that reason, if on the assumption you connect with my material, you like me, you like the sound of some of the stuff that you're hearing, then all you need to do is just click on the link below where it says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and then you'll get all the appropriate email confirmations, and then I will call you at the respective time. And we'll get to understand where you are now, where you want to get to, and how we can bridge that gap in the shortest possible time. You know, your transformation, your healing is my mission. And I want to make sure that it's a good fit for both of us. If it's not, that's totally okay. If it is, wonderful. We can work through all the details from there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you want to learn specifically the 5 stresses that will destroy any particular marriage, make sure you click this video above. And if you want to learn how to separate from your husband in a classy way when children are involved, click this video above. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you very soon.